No, but Enterprise, the way I see it is,
Brother, are you all right?
No, I am not all right. I just shared a bottle of Kanar with Damar. That rhymes.
You're drunk.
Of course I'm drunk.
even in trying to figure out, can we trust these people or not?
Okay, they didn't have a lot of that, but they did have one of the most memorable theme songs, though, because even people who aren't Star Trek fans are aware of that theme song.
Yeah, even if it's just, for the meme of, I hate it. It's not really Star Trek.
Which, good evening, everyone. Welcome, and, yeah, sorry for the bit of a late notice, as kind of got distracted by stuff and things, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend from here on out. And in the meantime, figured we'd have some fun and actually talk about something that is generally used as a relaxant in sci-fi, Star Trek specifically. We're gonna talk about the music. And yes, what we were just saying that about Star Trek Enterprise. Yes, it is subpar for theme songs. It was actually, if I remember correctly, it was actually essentially a placeholder. Like, they put it in there just to have something to draft the opening credits for, and then they just decided to go with it. Because the song that they picked kind of did have the right message to go along with the purpose of the show. I mean, you're pre-Federation, you're within the first century of humanity having warp travel. It's not gonna be like the rest of Star Trek. It's not gonna be in line with the Trek that we had known up to that point, because it's not the Federation. It's not the universe that we were accustomed to. So yeah, it's going to be different. And for all the flack that it got back then, I wonder how many people are like, okay, yeah, it could have been a lot worse.
I think it kind of took them seeing where Star Trek was heading after that to really realize how much worse it could get.
Are you more referring to the past 4 years or the intervening years with all the lens flares?
Now, with the lens flares, they have at least set themselves up to be not the same universe that we're used to. With these last 4 years, though, oh yes, this is totally the same universe. Just that nothing fucking adds up. But, details. It's not important that it doesn't add up. It just is. So, suck up, buttercup. It's the whole, we're going to rub it in your face. And we know that it isn't the same thing. You know that it isn't the same thing. But we're still going to claim it.
I think that's the biggest bit, is it really does seem like an actual act of disrespect and disservice to why you even have an intellectual property to work from to go ahead and do that. Because I will, of the newest iterations, I will give Discovery this. I can remember the basic feel of the Discovery theme song. I don't get that with Picard.
But Picard is essentially that commercial jingle that never took off of Star Trek theme songs. It's completely unmemorable. You can listen to it, and then 5 minutes later, when you try to recall how the melody goes, nothing. It's just gone. And even then, if you take something like Discovery doesn't feel like a Star Trek theme song at all. Simply due to it being so much more action focused. Is that the right word? It's
Yeah,
focused more on, oh, look, pew, 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 rather than we have these things. We have a giant universe we can actually explore. This is a new start. This is something where there's going to be wonder, not just a phaser blast at the face.
yeah, and that is actually harkens to the difference between the franchises. Star Trek is a very cerebral show. At least historically, it has been. It has been a thinking man's sci fi, for lack of a better term. It wasn't reliant on the action. The action was set dressing, not a plot point, like Star Wars.
Yeah. I have to say this, though. With the way that these last 4 years have treated the franchise, Star Wars has less sci-fi as explanations to everything than what's been going on now. With everything, say, for example, like, let's just take Picard. Okay, we're going to take data. We're going to rewrite all the fucking rules about it with, oh, we've reconstructed his brains from, or his entire brain from, what was it?
A single positron.
Yeah.
Reconstructed everything, memories included, from a single positron. That would be like trying to. That would be tantamount to recreating and redrafting an entire human being from one neuron.
Well, not even one neuron per se. Would be one random molecule. We have, I don't know, a basic fucking molecule that it doesn't actually do anything on its own in your body. It's being used as a transmitter. And now we can reconstruct all of you. We can rebuild him. We can make him better. We have the technology. No, but
You know, actually, had the writers actually known what the fuck they were writing for, there may have been an actual way they could have fixed that plot hole in the story. The combination of a positron and the transporter data logs and program info and pattern info from his entire career in Starfleet. Then you have a blueprint. You have other necessary information, plus the one bit of actual original material. Hey, and now you might actually have something. But wait, that would require the writing staff to have actually paid attention to things previously.
paid attention to? You mean watched it?
I think someone showed them a highlight reel at some point. Whether or not they paid attention to it or actually understood what was being shown to them, that's a different conversation entirely.
They watched the fucking. They watched the scenes of First Contact when they were trying to shoot the fucking Borg and shit like that, and thought, "Huh, yeah, that's pretty much all of it. Yeah, we're gonna make it like that." Measure what? The fuck's this shit? Huh, we can't use that here. Just throw all that out.
Wait.
Transported buffers? No, we can't deal with this.
Wait, philosophy and more existential thinking? Why should we even try that? I never took that in college. Why would anyone in the future have to? You know what? I think that's what it might be. I think that the writers nowadays are so fucking hamstrung in their experiences and education that they're not properly and adequately well-rounded enough to consider things that aren't their own personal direct experience.
As sad as that is, I think that you might not be wrong with it. Which just. The entire point of so many Star Trek episodes is that you take a concept, you take something which you see it this way today. You redress it in such a way that other people can see what you're talking about. They can see what you mean. And you still take it completely out of how people are seeing it from, or to begin with. Say that episode with, what's it called? The one where you have the two worlds, one providing the drugs for the other one. Symbiosis.
Yeah.
Where in that episode, okay, yeah, sure. It sounds really bad to begin with that you have these people being removed from whatever keeps them alive. But then you start realizing that, okay, no, it's not something bad because, it's drugs. It's all fucking drugs. It's essentially space heroin. And that in and of itself, okay, sure. That's something where you could potentially try and stop it. But no, they didn't try to stop it. Picard let the transfer go through. He let them actually bring the stuff down to the surface. But in doing so, he also called upon the Prime Directive and said that, yeah, we can't help fix your ships. We can't help you. From now on, it's all up to you.
Yep.
And in doing so, sure, in the long run, it will be a great help to the planet. In the short run,
It's going to be
heads are
painful
gonna
as fuck.
roll. Yeah.
Well,
But it's still some... Go on.
Well, and that actually is something with the... There was an article a few weeks back, maybe even close to a month ago now, where someone was trying to take a critical view of things with how Starfleet handles things and how Starfleet and the United Earth came about. And they seem to forget that even in the canon history, most of the subtle variations of it, there was a massive conflict and massive die-off. There was literal pain that humanity had to feel as a whole before it was ready from a mental standpoint to come together as a single unified people and then join the galactic community at large. And people should not be surprised when you have a non-interventionist mindset. Hell, the first order for all Starfleet officers, the prime directive, is one of non-interference of other abled species and cultures. And that's where you get into those conundrums where you see the damage being caused. You see the issues that they are creating for themselves. And you have the means to help them. But your core ethos tells you, no, they need to learn on their own. They need to make their own mistakes and have their own growing pains because it is part of their natural progression. And going back to Enterprise, you get instances of that, of where that came from, and where you have early Starfleet, pre-Federation, actually meddling and probably creating more problems than they solved.
Oh, yes. Especially when... It was Trip who got pregnant, wasn't it?
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
You want to be careful where you put your hands.
And it's something where, looking at what the events in Enterprise led to, we can see things like pen pals, where Picard was completely willing to let a girl, her entire family, and essentially her whole planet die in order not to intervene. And he was willing to do so because, well, they might die now, but had he intervened, or had they tried to intervene without due cause, it could have caused so many more issues later on. It's a really tough choice, But if you can choose between, well, something that may potentially cause a lot of harm now, or something where this will make sure that either they survive and they'll have learned from it, or they can't harm anyone else later, he has to go with the one that supports the Prime Directive. He can't just say, no, screw this. My personal feelings are more important than, well, all the other people involved in this.
And that's where you end up getting a wrinkle in that episode where the direct call and cry for help was that push that even Picard was like, how could we ignore that? And he recognized that, okay, we need to at least go see what the options are. And in the end, it wasn't the rosy, everything is perfect, happy, hunky-dory when they left.
No, but there was still a chance of surviving. There was still hope.
Yeah.
And in the situation, that's kind of the best you can hope for. You don't really have that many more options. Which,
and
okay, we take that. Go on.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
No, we take that and then we compare it to how it's been handled later on. Or it's been more handled in a way of, we let our feelings go in front of everything else. All these other things, not really important. Or all these other non-intervention things, not important because I feel like this is the right thing to do. I feel like it. Consequences be damned.
And that is something that really they took to an extreme in Discovery. That whole consequences be damned. I mean, you have the most insubordinate officer ever displayed in Star Trek. And yet everything hinged on her. Seriously, go back and watch all the major story arcs through all 3 seasons. What was the common thread? Without Burnham, they were hosed. Without Mikey Spock, they were screwed and couldn't do it. Couldn't figure it out. Couldn't actually do what needed to be done. And
that just makes the rest of the cast so impotent. It means that she's a really shit captain. If the only one able to do something is you, and you're not able to actually teach other people how to do this,
then you suck.
Maybe, just maybe you have some issues. Maybe it's something that you should address. Not just keep going, yelling YOLO as you keep fucking shit up.
Oh God, and
you can't have...
And they didn't even wait. They started with that behavior in the first freaking episodes.
Yeah, they didn't correct it. Which I would not mind that kind of behavior if it was then corrected. If it was something where, oh yes, she's going to start off that way, and then she's going to get kicked in the proverbial nuts because she can't be doing that stuff. You can't fuck up with that stuff and keep expecting that everything will be just fine. Say the way that they did with Ahsoka in the Clone Wars. Where she started off as being the nicest way to put it is a snotty brat.
A know-it-all brat.
And they knew that, Yeah, and they knew it because she was designed to be a snotty brat so that they could take her out of being a snotty brat. She had to start off being this know-it-all brat who was just almost a Marisu in order to make sure that we can make her into someone that people like. Someone who's actually got a character, unlike certain other Marisus. And it's something where the way that they did it, at least in my opinion of it, is masterful. They did it in such a way where you started actually caring about her. You didn't just look at her and see her as that one character that when she's on screen there's no stakes for anyone. No, she turned into a fully fledged character and someone who could actually get fucked over, as she was, by the fucking Jedi Council. Spoilers.
And they didn't just drop it off there. They didn't get to that point and then just leave her. They still let the character grow. They still had the character pop up now and then, but it was how it fit the overall story and how it fit her character for how she had progressed. And that was the thing that I really enjoyed and amazed me, was not just the fact that they pulled it off and did it that way, but the showrunner actually admitted, yeah, we wanted Ahsoka to not be accepted outright immediately. She needed to go through the growing pains. And that's what we wanted the audience to actually see and pick up on and actually go from. They knew from day one that people weren't going to like the character because of how she behaved.
And because she was someone new. Because, well, if you have a Marisu, from the very basis of a Marisu, if it's someone who's completely new to the rest of the cast, they can't always be liked. They can't always be the perfect person who everyone turns to and who's friends with everyone.
No, the stories get boring then.
Yeah, having a character like that, it's not just boring. It's something where it makes the character into someone that you loathe. You see, well, just to take the other Marisu as an example here, take a Rey. When, during any of those movies, did you actually feel like there were any stakes when she was on screen? Like she was actually a growing character, like she wasn't just essentially a placeholder for a proper fleshed out character
There were
that they then kind of forgot to put in.
There were moments of potential physical harm and threat, but nothing that lasted, nothing that was actually substantial. And yeah, Nikki, you have a point. This has gone into more of a deeper dive and analysis of the series.
So what are we talking about again?
It's
Sorry, Ed. Your ad, Jared.
Is supposed to be the music of Star Trek, primarily the theme songs, and that's actually what we started with, was with Enterprise and its theme song, which
would have fit better with Voyager's plotline.
Kind of. Okay, I can see that, but it still fit with Enterprise too, because if you're going from the more, we're coming from just being introduced to the galactic community to now we're one of the leaders of it in the Federation, which was the overall storyline and chunk of history that Enterprise was supposed to tackle, it still fits for that too. Because if you're looking at it with the knowledge of TOS, TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and you're looking back on that time period, yeah, you can see how humanity, especially humanity, and to a lesser extent some of the other founding species, have come a long way in those 200 years since
It-
that was
It's
taking
really
place.
been a long road.
Yes, but then you were talking about recreating data with a single positron and his memories from
Yeah.
Starfleet. And all I could think of is Pulaski suffering from that aging disease from the perfect humans, and then using her DNA to recombine her to a previous state.
Yeah. So you already had that established. Why not use that to help with the data problem?
Because that would involve using actual story arcs that actually made sense.
And we're
Well, they would
already
actually have
established.
They'd have had to actually watch it then.
Oh, we don't allow that.
Oh, well, there was another part that we mentioned, like, okay. Jay, do you remember what the Picard theme song was like?
No, but I could easily open up my CBS or sorry, Paramount Plus and listen to it.
Oh, fuck that. Go into the Discord server, go into Quark's Bar, click on the link at the top of the text chat in the description. That goes to a G drive that has all the episodes there. Fuck giving them the activity. Not that I encouraging pirating material now and then, but
No, no, no. We would never do that.
yeah, it's one of those, like, I can remember the basic tone and melody of Discovery. I can remember it for Voyager, Deep Space Nine, TNG, which was also the made for the motion picture, but we'll get into that at a different time. And also TOS and Enterprise. I mean, the only one of the newer ones that actually is memorable enough to warrant actual space in my head has been Discovery. And I think that's because I wanted to give it a chance. I tried to give it a chance. And they ruined it.
Yeah, but in order to actually make it, well, in order to do it well, you have to care for not just your characters, not just your part of the franchise. You have to care for the entire franchise. And taking something like Star Trek Discovery, they didn't really care for the franchise. They haven't cared for. They haven't cared for the story. They haven't cared for the lore. They haven't cared for what came before them and potentially what will come after them. It's just, okay, we are going to prove that we can do this shit. We can do it right. Just watch us. And with that, it's not that they're missing the point. It's that they're trying to make a point that no one before has complained about. And they're trying to justify everything there with, well, it's time now. We have to do something more about it. We can't just go with the old Star Trek. No, we need new stories. We need new concepts, etc.
You can do new stories and new concepts without abjectly just taking a dump on everything that came before. You do not actually elevate yourself or anyone else by denigrating all others around it. You don't make one series in a franchise look better by trying to make the other series look worse. No, you do the work, you elevate your product, you put the time and energy required to make your vision proper and actually accepted and actually do it well. And the biggest thing is tell a good story. If you tell a good story, you have a chance. It doesn't matter how many special effects you have. It doesn't matter who you bring in to help with the musical score. If your story sucks at the core, everything else is a waste.
Which, mind you, Enterprise managed to do that. Why didn't the other ones?
Okay, so Picard's theme song is actually a knockoff of Cosmos.
Why does that not surprise me?
Wait, Cosmos, you mean
The one with
no,
Neil
is it-
deGrasse Tyson.
it's that one. I was thinking the old one, but the old one is by Vangelis. It's called 12 O'Clock, I think.
Yeah, the newer version with Tyson was in the same vein, but noticeably updated and different in a good way. And that's the thing is when someone has been quite literally a lifelong fan of a franchise and they have a hard time remembering the theme song of the latest iterations, you screwed up.
It's just unmemorable. It doesn't have any pizzazz.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be good to be memorable.
It has to have something.
Exactly. And that's, you get a
Only
feeling.
thing worse than being bad is being unmemorable.
Yeah. Well, and what about the hallmarks of Star Trek, especially when it comes to theme songs? Next Generation was good. It's just a slightly... It was a replay and remaster of the motion picture. Not a bad thing, but you know what? It worked. It fit the tone of the show. It fit the tone of what Starfleet and the Federation was to be portrayed as and understood as, even with all the issues that the Enterprise D ended up facing. The theme song worked and fit the show. Deep Space Nine, another one. Classic. And it fit the different tone, the different setting. The things aren't exactly the same, but it's still Starfleet. It is still Star Trek, just with a different flair, a different location, and different hurdles to face. And it worked. Voyager, for all its problems with writing and telling a consistent story, the theme song fit, and opening intro, I will say, from a visual standpoint, coupled with the music, Voyager is neck and neck at the top. If it's not number one, it's 1A. And that's for one of the worst shows in Trek.
Well, it was a really good executed theme song with the visuals that makes it pop and stand out.
Yeah, sadly, had the show been as good as the intro there, that would have been the best Star Trek show. I'm just going to throw that out there because no other show, had they been able to execute it as well, would have been able to stand up to that. Not even TNG.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think one of the best ways to describe the TNG theme song was safe. And what really makes me say that is, yes, it is a good theme song for the show. Yes, it fits the tone. It checks all the boxes. But it was pulled from another entry in the Star Trek franchise. It was already done. It was already tested and accepted. So it quite literally was not a risk. when they chose it. And given the visual effects available at the time when they first developed it, got some wonderful hero shots of the Enterprise D, the new ship that was the centerpiece of that show. So, yeah, you get a couple checks in the positive for you, but I would say it was average at best.
And I will have to say this, though. I think that a lot of the reason that they chose that as well was so much too that they were afraid that, okay, we will try to do this, we will try to go for this show, we will try to create this show in such a manner where it is as competently made as possible as a Star Trek show, yet it will not be the same show as TOS. This will not be the same thing that you've seen before. And they were trying to do that as much as possible, just trying to ride the safe train in that, with that too, and trying to pull as much as they could with people, people feeling safe with watching it, despite it not being what they were used to.
Yeah, letting people actually give it a chance because, yeah, and it was the return to the small screen for the first time since the late 60s when TOS was taken off the air, and because a lot of people don't consider the animated series as part of it because how short it ran and when it ran, that it, while it did add to things, it didn't really, it was definitely a standalone show. More people focused on the syndication re-airing of the original series, which is what helped grow the popularity of the franchise in general. So you had a lot of people who were only aware of the original series up to that point and maybe went to the movies or vice versa. Or you have the diehards who, yeah, saw the couple movies that were out by that point and had the expectations and had a particular visage in their mind without accepting that, hey, we're in the 24th century now, not the 23rd. So there are going to be differences. There are going to be upgrades. There's going to be progress. But yeah, they had to play it safer to do their best to appease that audience without alienating them, while also producing something that would grow the audience and justify keeping it on air for 7 seasons, which they did quite well. But yeah, even TNG did get a lot of flack when it started. A lot of people wanted to compare it to TOS. And if you expect each edition of a franchise to be exactly like the one previous, why be interested in something that has a larger universe that they could be creating? No two crews are going to be exactly alike. I mean, hell, and then you have the mysterious third crew that people refer to as well. It wasn't the blue crew or the gold crew, but the other crew.
Yep, that's all it always is.
But that being said, though, if you take something like, okay, just as a thought experiment here, I'm going to take just any episode. I'm going to redress the characters. I am going to just change the scenario slightly, as in the same storyline, but just different scenario. You will be able to tell that this is a Star Trek episode, no matter where you see it, because they will play off as a Star Trek episode. It will just be the spirit of it, no matter what else you try to do with it. That will be the same.
You were looking at the chat, weren't you?
Actually, I'm still building that ship.
Well, because Insider at one point even said, "Don't forget Orville."
Oh yeah, that one too. Now, take something like, okay, say something like Stargate, or Stargate SG-1 to be more specific. You can see some of those or some of those episodes there, where you have quite clear Star Trek themes. It's not something where you can quite put your finger on it, but you know it's there.
Oh,
But if you were to,
well, like
go
you
on.
had that one species, that one planet that were so well advanced, and they refused to share any of that knowledge with Earth because, well, we tried it before and they destroyed themselves. We're not doing it again.
Fucking Tolans. Oh wait, was it Tolans or Nox? It was Tolans,
It,
wasn't it?
it was the Tolans. The Nox were the
Yeah, we're not going to share anything anyway.
they didn't. Yeah, they were secretive for their own other more self-preservation reasons.
Yeah, and very, very, very non-interventionists.
Yes, pacifists.
Yep. But just taking all of those, you can see where you have the influences. You can see where, okay, they've either blatantly ripped off, or they have borrowed inspiration from it. You can tell that, okay, it's Star Trek. No matter what else, this is Star Trek. It just reads as Star Trek. It just looks like Star Trek. However, if you were to take any of the episodes of anything pretty much made in the last 4 years, how many people would be able to identify that as Star Trek if you were to just change the set dressing?
I mean, the Picard, you would, simply because a couple of the characters are. Well, again, it's the characters, and it's just the name recognition. It's not even the behaviors or the story arc at all.
No.
Like if you took the storylines, both in on each individual episode and the overall storyline of Picard, and put it into a different thematic universe, it would still be sci-fi, but it wouldn't bring off as having any tie-in to Trek or any sort of connection there.
No, you can't recognize the feeling of it. Whereas, as mentioned there with the Orville is pure fucking Star Trek. It stinks of Star Trek. It just oozes Star Trek of it. And it does it in a good way. It's not something where, okay, you watch it and you kind of get a hint of it. You kind of get where they're trying to do it. No.
It's not a
all
try.
over.
Yeah, you see blatantly where they're taking it from there. And
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He is so crucially aware of where he's taking the show. He knows what it needs.
well, and to me that's
Star Trek doesn't have that now.
no, it doesn't. And really it comes down to the same thing. Both storytelling, thematically, and musically, the Orville has a better writing staff. Stargate SG-1 had a better writing staff. You mentioned the whole thing with seeing a storyline or some facet of a storyline in SG-1 and recognizing it as potentially being Trek. What about all the times that O'Neill made references to Star Trek?
Yep.
Oh, come on. They would never do that.
And they'd also never make fun of their own series in a fourth wall breaking couple of episodes. Oh, wait, they did.
Wait, I thought you were talking about Deadpool now.
No, Ryan Reynolds didn't show up in that series.
But you can tell with Star Trek, looking at something like, say now again, the intro music for Enterprise. Despite being a placeholder, despite not actually being the classical Star Trek music, it's still Star Trek. It still conveys the same message. It still conveys hope. We might actually be able to get better in the future. We might actually be able to get to a point where we're less likely to just stab one another to death over this little thing. And it's something where that part, just in and of itself, is so very in line with what Star Trek's been trying to, not preach really, but what they've been trying to have as a main goal or main sentiment for the entirety of the show or the entire franchise. Unless you have a character named Pino who tries to cut people's heads off. But it's still something where you can recognize it. You can see it, and you can see why they were choosing that or why they used that. Because sure, people might say, okay, yeah, it's not Star Trek because it's not as musical as others. It doesn't have the grandiose feeling. But then again, it doesn't really have to. Because with this, it isn't the Star Trek that we know yet. It isn't the Star Trek that we come to, well, know, or the Star Trek that we come to recognize just as a whole.
Yeah, because you even, with the story arc that they go with there, you have instances of xenophobia show up, and what would be the late 22nd century racism going on and poking up because, well, the Earth is new to the galactic community, and being in contact with other sentient, intelligent species, and they end up getting kicked in the mouth. And a lot of the citizens didn't like it and started being critical of the people quite literally showing the way on where Earth was located. And I do see that their blame for Starfleet in general was actually pretty well founded in that. However, the way they went about reacting to it was not in line with the 23rd century or 24th century version of the Federation that we see. And I think that's what took a lot of people by surprise, and without realizing that for all of the technological progress that humanity has made just in our lifetimes, just in the past 40 years, what about the social side of it? What about the behavioral advancement? We as human beings are our own worst enemies by behavior alone. Then again, that could lead to a rant, which is better suited for later this weekend. Stay tuned.
I don't know what you mean, honestly.
Oh, some people don't, and I plan on keeping it that way.
I totally understand.
But, so you have that bit, and let's not ignore the elephant in the room. Some of the music and themes that we see across the series are very dated for when the installment of the franchise was made. I mean, how many people actually expect to hear a theremin in their music now? But in the 60s, that was a hallmark of, oh, we're doing something futuristic and sci-fi. Let's get the synth going.
Yep.
Let's get the synthesizer out. Let's get these other instruments out. I know, freaking, oh god, what's his name? Plays Sheldon Cooper on Big Bang Theory.
Oh, I don't know his actual name.
Yeah, but he actually learned to play the theremin so his character could actually start playing it in a couple episodes on the show. If his character wasn't such a Star Trek nerd, yeah, Jim Parsons. If it wasn't for that part of his character and that part of what was actually a core aspect of him, a core trait of the characters, how many people would even know what that instrument looks like now?
Well, not many. Unless they think that you mean some kind of plug-in on, well, your music maker of choice.
Yeah, and so you do have that dated component, but one thing that has been consistent throughout has been that, well, until recently, although they tried to stick with it, it didn't exactly work, that no matter how dire their circumstances, there was always that glimmer of hope that humanity and its group and its friends would persevere. Ah, yes. It's amazing what you can do with a proper electromagnetic field tuned to actually react a certain way with biology.
Now I want one.
You have at it. I do not have the patience for it or the time. I'm. If you guys were to try to rank where, let's just stick with theme songs for right now. Where would you slot each of the series so far?
From top to bottom, or
And if it's easier for you to go with the one that you liked and enjoyed the most and then go down to the least, whichever method works for you.
because I would almost say that there's 4 tiers to it, and the first tier being, well, Star Trek Voyager. Since I can't justify putting that anywhere else than at the top. It's just really fucking good. Second tier, I would say, oh, what's it called? Is it Faith of the Heart? The Enterprise theme song.
Yeah.
The DS9 theme song, and, well, TNG. After that, in tier 3, I would have to say TOS and the animated series. And then in shit tier, the other 2 ones, because, well, Star Trek.
Well, since we're including the animated series, you also got to throw in Lower Decks, too.
I'm gonna have to add that in the 4th one. It's just, it doesn't hit the right spots.
Alright, what about you, audiophile?
Voyager 1, maybe 1A. Discovery is memorable, but I think that's more of a solid 3. So number 2 would probably, for me, be Deep Space Nine. Then Discovery, and then probably go with Next Generation, Enterprise, TOS, and Picard at the end. Since we're not including animated series, and I don't remember the theme for Below Decks.
Yeah, sticking with the live action ones, yeah. Voyager 1A. I have to agree with Jay on Deep Space Nine being that 1B or 2. Those two, flip of the coin. Those two are the tops. I would then go with... the middle is where it gets tough because TNG, TOS, and Discovery, to me, are close. They're close, and I would probably end up going TNG, Discovery, then TOS. Part of it is TOS is iconic, but it's okay. The Discovery theme was not as shit as the series itself, but again, it was okay. TNG is just a tick better simply because of the periphery of it. But then Picard, I trying to remember it, drawing a blank. It's got to be at the bottom. And if we were to mix in the animated ones, I would slot Lower Decks above Discovery, and the animated series would probably be, yeah, right there, right above Discovery as well. And yeah, I respect the TOS for all that it did and all that it gave us. But over time, it doesn't surprise me that its ranking on a number of things are also pretty low, because just because you're the first at doing something in a franchise doesn't mean you're the best.
Mm-hmm.
And you would expect progression and things getting better over time, which is why Discovery is only slightly above it, in my opinion. And again, my opinion. But it's... I'm not entirely surprised, Jay, that you had them ranked. You had Discovery ranked the highest out of the three of us.
Yeah, I mean, Discovery is it's one of those themes that it's not horrible, but it's not the best. But given with what everything else, like I said, TNG is a knockoff of the motion picture movie with some minor changes. The original series is, classic in the sense that it's using things that weren't thought to be used before in that way, especially for a sci-fi series. Picard is just a knockoff of Cosmos, quite literally. And then Enterprise.
Oh, I forgot to slot in Enterprise. I thought there was one I was forgetting.
Enterprise is one of those. It's when you're listening to it, when you're watching the show, it's catchy. Kind of, especially the third season where they start adding it, or is it late third, early fourth season? They start adding in the rest of the instruments to it, the drums and the bass and everything. That's when it really starts to take off.
Season 3.
Although I did like their change for the Mirrorverse episodes. That was really good.
Yes, actually,
If I had to separate that one out, it would go higher than Enterprise.
I would put that at number 2. If we take that short story arc, its intro out of it, to me, that's right below Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
But the standard Enterprise one, I would put... I'd have to put it right with Flip of a Coin with TNG. Maybe slightly above, because it is still a catchy tune.
It's been a long road.
Oh, come on, Nikki. We all know about Terra Nova. It was one episode of Enterprise. That's all it needed. Especially since it had the archaeologist from The Mummy.
Thought it was a two-parter. So, do you count two-parters as one episode or two?
Terra Nova was a single episode.
For some reason, I thought it was a two-parter, because that was the one around the genetically manufactured child between T'Pol and Trip.
Oh, no. You're thinking of
Fucking
You're thinking of-
Prime.
Terra Prime.
Oh yeah, Terra Nova was the radiation drove them underground. And the rock people.
Yeah, you're thinking of Demons in Terra Prime. Terra Nova is season 1. I think it was like the second or third episode after the broken bow or broken bow, however you want to say it.
Yeah,
Sorry, it was the 1, 2, 3, 4,
fourth or
fifth episode if you count the two-parter as one episode. Otherwise, it's the 6th episode.
Yeah. Yeah, that episode, actually, we could do quite the analysis on a few things.
Radiation sickness.
Well, not just what the radiation sickness can present as, but also just how wonderfully fallible the human memory can be, because you had that elder of
Nadette.
Nadette, who completely, functionally forgot about her family when they were topsiders.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know what you were referring to, Nikki, and I think Jay does too. He was just giving you a hard time.
We don't acknowledge that series as ever existed.
Oh, come on. Well, maybe that's the topic we do next week.
Series that we don't want to exist.
Bad sci-fi series or movies that should just be wiped out from all memory.
Well, then it will be a Star Trek episode because we got Picard and Discovery, bits of Enterprise, all of Voyager. Okay, the ending episode of Voyager just needs to be.
Yeah,
they could have ended it with this instead of having that 2-part ending episode. They could have just ended it with the previous one and left it as a cliffhanger.
They could have done that. Well, then again, if you want to go that route, we could also get rid of Star Trek Nemesis, because Insurrection was a damn good spot to end the movie run of the TNG crew.
Oh yeah, I could agree with that. I'm just glad that they decided not to do the end of the original cast with the Final Frontier. The Final Frontier.
Yeah, 5. Oh.
That would have been horrible. Yes, I'm looking at the chat, Jared. If that's what you're.
No, I was just thinking. I was like, yeah, Star Trek 6 was definitely a better send off, and also around that time was actually rather fitting of the political climate, because, well, didn't you know Star Trek's never been political before now?
Nope.
Never mind all the bullshit that Roddenberry raised in the 60s when he was making the original series. Like, hey, why is your Caucasian captain kissing his African queen? Well, sorry, African nobility communication officer? Yeah. Yeah, they've never pushed the envelope and pushed boundaries on Star Trek before. It only started happening with Discovery.
What was that episode with the black and white guys with the alternate pattern on their face? That wasn't political at all either, was it?
No, not at all. And not like the relationship between the Klingons and the Federation wasn't an allegory for other political issues going on either.
Yet. Well, it's about how you do it. Because, as mentioned before, Star Trek has managed to do it in such a way before where they've taken something that you already know about and repackaged it so that you can actually see it from another perspective as well. Rather than just, this is what you need to think, we are going to beat you over the head with it until you think the same way that we do. There's a difference there. There's a huge difference there.
Yes.
Oh, you guys were talking about the Prime Directive earlier, and it just reminded me of something. Episode in Enterprise, Dear Doctor, where Phlox is asked to save a species, only to realize that the subspecies is actually potentially evolving past those. The
That was an interesting one.
Yeah, because it's, how did they were debating on, first of all saving them, but then it's like, do we give them the reactor technology to get to warp 5 right away, or do we help get them going on the research to develop it themselves? At the end of that episode.
Yeah. One thing that came up off air at one point was actually reconnecting with some of the species that have been introduced and were only one-offs and seeing where they've actually gone to, which I think would be an interesting thing for a future Star Trek series to do. However, not with the current creative staff, because they will just fuck it up. I remember what sparked it now. Before we came on air, a bunch of us were in the Discord server just hanging out, and Lord Burns had mentioned that there's going to be an edition coming up on a game he's playing and a progression they're doing, that when they get to the TNG era, they're going to actually utilize the binars rather effectively, and there's supposed to be a recurring presence there, which just got me thinking, what if we go back to that species in Enterprise and see how they progressed in the couple hundred years since they had that first encounter?
Annie.
Hey, bub. But that's something that they could do a good Star Trek series if they had the writing staff capable of it and willing to do it, where you could... It almost... Actually, it is similar to what Lower Decks is supposed to be, where it's the second contact. It's the follow-up to the exploration.
Yeah.
But they
Below Decks or Lower Decks could still do that.
They could, but not in a way that I see as treating it properly. Because they do go outlandish in that series. They do really push it. And to me, they're trying to rein in and really hone in on the Rick and Morty style of fandom.
Yeah. I'm curious to see, how humans integrated with the denobulans and family structure.
That would be fascinating.
Like in the episode Stigma, where Trip is getting hit on by Flock's wife.
Oh my god, that is
That was one of the best
wonderful.
episodes.
It really is, because you get that dynamic, and both Phlox and one of his three wives just enjoy watching Trip's reaction. I think that's why I like the Denobulans, is because they are consummate people watchers. They love learning and watching how other people react and do things. And I'm like that too. Like, if someone reacts in a new way to a situation or a stimuli that I hadn't seen or thought about or knew about before, it always makes me wonder, I wonder what else factored into it to get them to respond that way. Although, I mean, how many people would actually enjoy being a part of a family group that was each husband had 3 wives, and each of those 3 wives also had 3 husbands?
It make for interesting family reunions.
Saying that,
Wouldn't that just be a planetary party day at that point?
Eventually, yes. I mean, it's one of those, how do you want to put it? It's Alabama and Mississippi with a little bit more genetic diversity.
What were you thinking, Leon?
no, but this is actually something where, interestingly enough, we are trying to look at this from our perspective with that. Just as a, well, not ironic thing, but kind of funny considering that we're actually talking about Star Trek. Considering that with this, the main reason that Trip was, well, uncomfortable with it too was because he wasn't used to it. Because it was something where, as we're used to it here, well, apart from Alabama, Mississippi, we do not actually have that. To them,
No, there's
the
an
opposite
open.
would be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, polygamy actually is a thing. It's just not as open and
Prevalent as
prevalent as on Denobula, and or to that extreme. And that's what I actually find funny, is a lot of places and a lot of groupings where polygamy is practiced. Let's just keep it in Western civilizations, in Europe and America and Canada. You have a very lopsided presentation of it. Most of the instances, it's one guy with multiple wives / girlfriends. It's actually rare for it to be equal on both sides of the arrangement, which is another wonderful facet of doing a sociological analysis of those cultures.
I would, if the opportunity presented itself to go visit the Denobulans that we have in Star Trek and just watch their society, I'd jump on that chance.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Just saying they might let you watch too. They probably let you join in though.
Yeah, they probably would prefer me to join in, but you know,
Hey,
observe it first. Make sure you understand the rituals, then you proceed to join.
see, some people are more comfortable behind the camera, not in front of it. NA, call me a pessimist, but I think those days are over for any new Trek series. Oh, dude, a couple weeks ago I said Star Trek needs to take a break. It needs a hiatus. It needs a proper hiatus before it can actually be done appropriately. I think that much damage has been done with the latest installments of it. And to think they're working on a 4th show, Strange New Worlds, which
They're trying to keep pace with the Star Wars stuff that Disney's putting out.
oh, you mean
Which
the
is
Star
not a
Wars
good thing.
the Star Wars stuff that Disney is hemorrhaging money on?
Because it's all filled with what Kathleen Kennedy wanted, and the one that isn't is the one that Jon Favreau is in charge of.
Okay, see, and for a parallel, I could see Star Trek surviving without that hiatus if they brought in McFarlane as an overall showrunner and let him actually craft something. I could actually see him doing a series proper to where you'll have that spirit there, you will have that exuberance that you get from the Orville without the toilet humor. I could actually see McFarlane doing that.
Oh yeah.
And he would be giggling like a fucking child all the time.
Oh, he would love it. I mean, he took not an unaccredited role to just be a background dressing on Enterprise because he is that much of a Star Trek fan.
And to get berated by Trip.
Hey, everyone has their kink.
Speaking of which episode was that? Because that was in season 3.
Yeah, it was 3. It was shortly at. Yeah, it was.
I'll find it.
The second episode after, or third episode after he transferred to the Columbia.
Oh no, he was actually credited with one episode as engineer, actually, according to IMDb.
Well, they credited him after the fact, but at the time of airing,
Yeah.
and that was the thing is, afterwards, people were like, hey, that's Seth MacFarlane. And at the time, he wasn't really known for anything in front of the camera. As live action, he was known for the animated series.
Stewie.
Yeah. Well, it's not just Stewie, but also PETA.
Yeah, I know. But most everybody knows him as Stewie.
I think he has the most fun with Stewie, which is why.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, he does have quite the affinity for Rhode Island, so I do have to give him a little bit of credit and a little bit of slack there. But again, a lot of people don't realize it's because he went to RISD. He went to the Rhode Island School of Art and Design. Which, you want to see some crazy people. You want to see some rather creative characters.
Okay, creative characters. I could give you that. I was gonna say, crazy. Are you forgetting where I live?
Where do you think a lot of them start out? Because a good number of people, if they... Seattle has its own flavor, but...
Oh no, we're not talking Seattle.
Or are you talking down towards the,
The capital.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah, you want to talk about crazy college students.
Mm. But, yeah, RISD has a longer history of it.
Yeah.
Note to self.
Oh.
Visit the four corners of the U.S. Just be selective about where you actually prefer to live.
Yeah. So he received an honorary doctorate degree from RISD in 2007, but he got his bachelor's in 95.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, look at what he's accomplished, and he's one of the more vocal ones that actually went through the school there, that actually has talked about his experiences there in more good than bad. Because a lot of people who go through an arts college like that and even graduate, a lot of them see it as a waste of time, whereas MacFarlane has actually given it the credit it deserves. It actually helped him expand and actually add to his material for the characters that he's created.
Interesting. Fun fact, I'm looking at his IMDb. Apparently, he was supposed to be on the first plane that crashed into the Twin Towers on September 11th, but he missed the flight due to his travel agent giving him the wrong departure time.
Yeah,
Lucky bastard.
I could see that being true. Yeah, because even back then, Logan was not a quick airport to deal with.
Distant cousin to former Star Trek Next Generation actress Denise Crosby.
How much has she kicked herself over that?
Being a distant cousin of his, or
Over, okay, yeah, no, I don't see this going anywhere. I'm out. And then, oh shit, it actually took off.
she did come back later. So,
Yeah.
there was a bit of regret, but I'm pretty sure there was, if I remember right, there was actually more to it in the background as well. Same thing with Crusher. The reason why Crusher wasn't in season 2 was entirely because of background stuff and interpersonal issues and conflict that actually, if some of the stories are true, really bordered on criminal behavior of some of the production staff. I mean, Hollyweird has rarely been a good place to work, especially if you're a woman, and that is... There are no proper words in the English language to describe how wrong and pathetic that it is that that statement can even be said.
Yeah.
Interesting. Distant cousin of Ashley Judd. Both are descendants of William Brewster and his wife, who came over to Massachusetts on the Mayflower. Just pulled up my ancestry family tree. I do have Brewster as a last name in my family, on my dad's side of the family.
Yeah, there's even a town named after him.
Oh yeah.
I find that interesting, though, because, well, as we all know, Alabama liked that site so much that they made her own. I don't spell it the same way, though, but, you win some, you lose some.
Well, that's the thing is, even with later immigrations, they really messed with spellings of certain names, especially the Central and Northeastern Europeans.
No, I mean more when you go on Ancestry to see if, your data is safe. Like, is it Greenland or is it Iceland where they have that fucking app?
One of the two, if not both of them. I remember hearing it, but I don't remember which of the countries it is. But both of them actually have small populations, relatively speaking. So yeah, that's something you want to be mindful of. Although Alabama and West Virginia have a common thing of people going to family reunions to find their next date.
Next date, their next spouse, you mean?
Tomato, tomato.
Well, it's just the same as money. Speaking of Star Trek and Ferengi, you have to keep it within the family.
Oh god, what the hell did Burns post? Oh, that would be an interesting crossover. I don't think it could be done appropriately now. And what the hell is this? Oh, wow.
Something I need to share.
Yeah, go to Quark's Bar, the second image that Burns shared. It's a what if. What if the Enterprise was designed in 1959 by Harley Ray Earl, General Motors chief designer?
Hold on just a second here. I got it.
You know, one of the views actually isn't terrible, but all the rest of them are just... What the hell?
That looks like the Bad Robot character design for the Bad Robot production company.
It does.
And
But
not in a good way.
the dorsal view actually isn't bad. The top-down view is
Yeah.
actually kind of nifty. But then you look at all the others and it's like, no. Just no. Granted, part of it could be the color, though, too.
Yeah, it's the color.
It looks like a bottle opener
It does.
in the worst way.
You know, that is one thing I don't like about them shutting down thinkgeek.com. They actually had a Constitution class pizza cutter. And I almost ordered one for fun. Although another good thing that they had on there was actually the sushi set that was the Constitution class, where the nacelles with the light trailing out of them were the chopsticks, and you open up the saucer section for the soy sauce. And yeah, see, this one, it's a shame Doohan isn't still around, at least the father, the actual originator of the Scotty character. But is the other actor still around? That I don't remember off the top of my head. Oh no, Muskegon, that version of the Enterprise, it had fins. But they weren't as large as the fins that Paris tried to put on the Delta Flyer. Which... No. You can wait.
No, it's work.
No, it was actually the notification for the next show that starts in an hour. Ish.
No, we can wait then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on one of my Google calendars, so it acts as the reminder, hey, you should probably go in and turn off the notifications of that. But you know what? That requires energy and effort and time, and I've been putting that stuff to other things away from the computer for a bit now, which has actually been rather nice. Yeah, if they went with the Cadillac size fins, that would stand out much more, and also they would need a few on the nacelles at that point. But
here's one thing, though, which kind of... it's always been standing out a bit to me when it comes to Star Trek. With Star Trek, with the way that things are portrayed, who can we say is actually the... or what race, if we put it like that, could we actually say is the worst race of them all when it comes to overall mannerisms, etc., of the main races?
define main race.
Like the Klingon, Ferengi, the races that we have more than just a brief moment to look at.
Ooh. That, ooh.
Because when I first started looking at it, I started getting into Voyager. And in that, you had the, what's the fucking race called? The people who, they had to harvest other people's organs and...
Oh,
all
the
that shit.
the Vidians.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Vidians, yeah.
And that was one of the first things where that popped up to me or came to me like, okay, yeah, these people are most likely not the best people, as in, they're not exactly a race that you'd want any dealings with at all. whatsoever, if you can avoid it. And then after that, starting to look at, say, the Klingon. But you can't say the Klingon are all bad. Even if you have a lot of, well, kind of shitty Klingon, it's still something where it's built into their honor code, so to speak. And something that's got to do with a caste system rather than the individuals.
Same thing with the Hirogen and the Kazon.
Yeah, and then when you start getting into, say, the Ferengi started off being just, well, stereotypically bad.
But as they
But then
fleshed out more, it kind of became a neutral where they're not all bad, and kind of had redeemed themselves. It's all. It's almost like it becomes harder to hate someone the more that you actually know and understand them.
Yeah. And you can see my issue here now with which ones can you actually say are one way definitively, rather than something where you've just seen individuals, or you've seen a part of their society and that part is the main shitty part.
Like, even the Romulans would be tough to say are all bad.
I would have to say that most Romulans are bad. They get tricked to fuck, though.
Yeah. Although, then again, I was thinking of one of the last major competent Romulans that actually was on screen, which was in Nemesis. And Dina Meyer is just... Would you like to know more? Yes, I would like to know more. But even with all of that, you have... Like, here's something. Even with enough time, the Borg became understandable and not just a frightening, overwhelming, just not give a fuck type of enemy. They actually started to give depth to the collective in a way that started to make it at least slightly sympathetic, or at least understandable, if not relatable. And that, for as many times as Voyager screwed up in the writing department, there were other moments like that where they actually did very well.
So we're going to have to talk to God's Otter today about his addiction problem to dicks.
As long as we do it in a way that doesn't kink shame.
Obviously, I mean, you saw what he posted on Twitter last night.
Oh, and I got a picture. Actually, all of us. If you go into the gaming text chat, you will see an image from his fridge, just an almost 2 hours old at this point. His fridge is packed with dicks.
I'm sure it is. What was the other place he said that he got stuff from?
Oh, I don't remember. I just remember seeing the tweet, I should not order food when I am stoned.
It was... Oh, Easel's Heaven Sent Fried Chicken.
Nice.
Yes. And to be honest, you guys, it is... All of that is very, very good food. And why does he have something in his fridge called Vampire Slayer curds?
You know what?
I would assume it's garlic.
You know what, though? In about a half hour, you can ask him yourself.
Well, here is the main thing that you have to ask with that. Is it with a C or with a K?
It's with the C.
Because that is actually something that a guy named Gavin Weber, who's, well, he's got a lot of cheese stuff. I'll just put it like that. He got some flack, part for, well, him calling his followers and stuff like that curd nerds, and from people not knowing what curd nerds are.
Are they? I figured they were cheese curds there, cause auditor. I'm just assuming with the phrase vampire slayer that it's garlic infused of some sort, or maybe a garlic olive oil bath to help preserve them in.
Do you know how many garlics he had to milk to get that much?
Not enough. That's a lot of mashed potatoes and gravy in the fridge too, next to the dicks.
It's just how much do you want to rip on the guy when he's not here to actually stand up for himself?
He's in the chat.
Oh, I know, but it is slightly different when it's a little more face to face.
He wouldn't be able to say anything otherwise.
Well, yeah, he's gonna have too much dicks in his mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be right back.
Oh, NANA, that's what the short break in the next that's gonna start in no more than 20 minutes is for. Let me
Now,
guess.
imagine if we had replicators that could make food. That tastes like kind of like plastic. But yeah.
Yeah, it. But getting back to all this, so Icarus is not sure where he's at and listening, if he's live and just skimmed through the back of it. Said that he did like the Enterprise theme. And I think that's the thing is, there was a video recently put out by Trek Culture where they tried ranking the different theme songs, and they put Enterprise at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, that's just because they're wrong.
If I remember right, you and I have it at the lowest, at the mid-tier level.
Yeah, it's still good. It's not 100% all up there, because that's still going to be, what's it called? Voyager for me. But it's still good. It's still something that you can pass it off as Star Trek without feeling like a fucking shill.
Yeah, and there are a number of shill channels out there for Star Trek that you will not find me being one of them. Because unlike some people, and unlike popular consent amongst a number of people, I'm not in this for the sub count or the views or any of that. I'm just here to have a good conversation.
And we kind of suck if we're just trying to sit here and just rake in more people for the sake of people. And it wouldn't be about Star Trek anymore. Or rather, it wouldn't be about sci-fi anymore. It would be about all the other shit, and then you'd have to go into fucking drama and shit. Because, let's face it, people wouldn't be just interested in this. They'd be interested in everything going on around it.
And that's the thing, people like a good shit show, and don't get me wrong, every now and then shit shows do happen. I just prefer organic shit shows and not manufactured ones. Okay, NANA, I'm curious as to what put you in that spot. If you don't mind talking about it, you can always DM me through either Twitter or Discord. But I'm curious because despite everything that's gone on, I'm not going to stop helping people when I deem necessary and I'm able. Yes, Icarus, thank you for reminding me of something else that I am terrible at remembering to say. But then again, I think Jay has a button for that one.
Which one?
Did you read the comment from Icarus? The last one?
Ring my bell to be a special subscriber.
Yeah, that button comes in handy.
Jared,
Daddy,
how
my
about
ears are
we
bleeding.
start? How about we start a fundraiser for, say, $60, so he can get a larger microwave?
Well, if he's in a hotel room, he's limited on that aspect. That's the thing is, I'm not opposed to helping people. I'm opposed to people misrepresenting what's going on under the guise of getting help that they don't actually need.
Oh. Are we foreshadowing again?
Trying not to.
Dun dun dun.
Doesn't arrive till Tuesday.
Or Sunday
Yeah.
in this case.
Well, I mean, if we do the...
Okay, which creature did you take that one from?
The Crude's belt.
Okay, and that's what I was wondering, because there was that one, and I want to say that there was the naked mole rat from Kim Possible that also did it.
I will have to look that up now that I have Disney Plus access.
Did you watch? I did not watch WandaVision.
I have started the first episode and I can't get past, I think, the first 5 minutes because it is quite literally trying to be the cheesy 50s sitcom comedy.
Well, I know enough about the premise to say that it could and should be worth getting past that, because you're essentially going through her subconscious and actually crafting reality to match what she remembers and sees of what the idyllic life should be.
No, I get that's what the premise of the show is. It's just
But sometimes it
that
can be
first
so
episode.
bad.
Yeah. I don't doubt that it is not worth it, or it is worth it. I don't have that doubt. It's just it's like watching that first episode of Discovery season 3. I literally had to take 9 months off to finish watching it.
There's a side job in Kinnabonk and okay. That makes a much more sense. Okay, so you're 2 hours in that direction. Ooh.
Ooh. Do I need help with that? I got some sound pads for that.
All right. Are we gonna have another bit of fun tonight with Tasty live?
I hope so.
This could be, well, he did ask if he should, and I told him, you do you, boo. But now here's the he's sober this time, so he says.
Oh,
So far.
so sober is varying levels below what he was last week. So I mean, how sober are we?
I told you were gonna regret losing it.
Oh, by the way, Tasty, I warned Coral about what happened to you last week, or I should say, shared in the hilarity that it was.
Oh, is she available this weekend?
She might be. No promises, but
Okay, hang on. Okay. Tasty, you are going to get a bit of an education on how to handle a situation like that. Do you want the lesson to be off air and members only, or do you want the lesson to be doled out on air as well so other people could learn? Because I'm going to tell you this, the lesson that you have to learn from this is applicable to more than just life in the military. It is actually applicable to the entirety of your life going forward. Okay, and you walked out of there with... All right, and this is... You might not like me much with some of the questions I'm going to ask, but it's for your own good. Yeah. All right. But with that, do either of you guys have any final thoughts or burning questions when it comes to... Let's just open it up, not just the theme songs, but musical score in Star Trek in general that we haven't already touched on, then danced away from, then came back to, then went off on another tangent, then came back to.
No, not really. I'm just about to make Turquoise Laura and Alan cry, by the way.
I just have one question. Why the fuck, when you have people performing any kind of musical stuff in Star Trek, did they feel the need in TNG to show the actors randomly slapping the instruments?
Okay, that's a valid point.
Well, wait, you mean they're not genuine with how they're treating the instruments when playing? Except for Riker.
Yeah, Riker actually played the trombone, I believe.
But with that, it would have been preferable just to have them in an angle where you can't actually see the playing.
Oh, you mean like what they typically do with pianos?
Yeah. Because, well, in TNG, oh, we're going to show it. Wait, that? No, does... No, no. It's not even fucking in tempo. What the fuck are you doing? Are you drunk?
It's almost like they gave string instruments to people who've never played a string instrument before and told them, just follow the music.
Pretty much. They could have done better.
Yeah, that is something that... That's not just Star Trek, though. That is Holly weird in general. Because anytime that there is a band in some kind of setting playing music live, the only times I've seen the movements come close to matching what's being played are those instances when they bring a band onto set to actually play, quote unquote, their own music as part of the score of the show.
I mean, almost like doing a music video?
Well, and not just that. I'm actually, what came to mind for me was like with Letters to Cleo in the movie 10 Things I Hate About You.
I know. Which basically got turned into music videos.
This is true. They only had to add a few others for it.
But why don't they just pull a Deliverance?
Because they're afraid people will actually get scared and never visit Alabama again.
No, what I mean, have a guy who actually knows how to play the fucking instrument behind the actor, and then just shoot in such a way that you can't see that it's someone else playing the fucking instrument.
It's hard to do that with a frontal shot, and a lot of Star Trek shots, the string quartet or the band is playing for like a diplomatic type function where they're in a corner looking out over the entirety of the room. Or a wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, apart from that, though, no other questions.
Well, I think NANA just said this for you. Hey, people like me who don't know jack shit about music never noticed that.
I know barely anything about music,
I choose to
What
ignore it.
but if I see something that doesn't add up to what's actually or what I can hear, it gives me a massive fucking headache.
It breaks the illusion.
It's like seeing someone clap at one tempo and then hearing the fucking claps at another.
Oh, yeah, where you have... Oh, one of my music teachers growing up actually pointed this out, that it was right around World War II. Prior to that, the primary beat for like a drummer was actually the first beat. And after that, it moved to the second. So you would have, if you had both age groups together, you would actually get that off kilter clap and movement with the music, because one grew up with a music style that was one way, the other grew up with the music style that was another. And oh yeah, that can be annoying. He demonstrated
jazz.
it. He demonstrated it, and oh my god, was it maddening.
Yeah, you'll notice it basically right around the start of the Great Depression is where it's starting to change to the 1, 2, 3, 4 beat style on the snare drum.
Yep.
And it has to do with the fact that big band jazz were wanting to do more of a rhythmic clap that doesn't focus on the main downbeat of the measure. So if people are dancing and they want to clap, they start the dance and then clap, and then you work your dance around the main beat, so that way when you let go and you get a chance, you clap in the middle of the song.
Yeah.
If you watch any of the actual process of it.
You dance around the clap.
Oh, those are words to live by. Oh, and Tasty is going to be a West Coast sailor. Hey, Tasty. If you want to get a tattoo of a motivational saying that will keep you on track, there it is right there. Dance around the clap.
Best teen movie, not another teen movie. I don't know. 10 Things I Hate About You, which is just a recreation of Taming of the Shrew, is actually pretty good.
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko is good, but 10 Things I Hate About You was enjoyable and actually had a damn
Julia
good looking
Stiles.
cast. Yes.
Julia Stiles, that's all you have to say.
Well, not just her, her sister too.
Oh, the one that hasn't really done... I don't think she's done much of anything since then.
Nope.
At least you got to see Julia Stiles in the Bourne series.
All right, what was that, Leon?
There are jokes that can be made here, but they'll have to wait.
Your point?
I don't think Tasty was listening. That's okay, Bubba. We will tell you again shortly. The Falcon series didn't get me as much as WandaVision, but Loki seems to be great. Hey, Tom Hiddleston, he wasn't cast as Loki. Loki was written to get him on to the cast.
Oh, I stand corrected. She's actually been quite a bit. It's just all TV stuff.
Ah. See, I never paid attention to the TV stuff around that time, so...
She actually had... she was credited with some character in American Dad on Steven Snott's Test Tubular Adventure.
Well,
episode.
that's a cartoon that... Yeah, I've watched American Dad, so it doesn't really quite count.
I'm just letting you know one that you might have watched.
True. Fact or fiction? Icarus, that's headcanon to me. Just like Deadpool was written specifically for Ryan Reynolds, and I don't just mean for the movies, I mean the character in general. Although there is a little bit of truth to that, in that Deadpool's sense of humor was modeled after Ryan Reynolds to a point, but when Ryan Reynolds actually found out about the character and started reading the source material, he loved it because he saw so much of himself in it, and that might have been a bit of an accident.
Yeah.
But it still worked because there are some roles that you would be hard pressed to find another actor who could do it well, and Deadpool is one of them. Yeah, so anyways, with all of that, we are going to do our bit of an interlude. So later this weekend, well, actually, yeah, it'll be tomorrow morning that it's available, but we're going to have the interlude section from last week's available for members only. So if you want a chance to see more of the shenanigans that take place in between shows, click that join button below. That's how you're going to be able to see them. Or join the Patreon, because they're going to be listed and available through there as well. So, with that, we're going to take our break, do our biological needs portion of the evening before we are back on air in just over a half hour for VTW.
That sounds good.
Ring my bell to be a special subscriber.
Icarus, we'll talk about that after. See everyone soon.
I'm coming.